Tonight, MPP minority in Parliament intensifies pressure on government to immediately address the power sector crisis, demanding immediate end to erratic power supply.
Of panic, then retreat. Communication is unacceptable. The minister must stop frightening Ghanaians and start fixing the problems. The patience of the Ghanaian people is wearing time.
We also tell you about the ballooning IPP debt and also bring you the latest Energy Commission report flagging a threat to thermal power generation due to our over-reliance on that particular power source. And we tell you also why the minority is tonight demanding the removal of Isaac Adongo as chair of the Finance Committee. Plus, Parliament's Works and Housing Committee calls for demolition of structures in waterways after floods killed 3 people in a Delta municipality.
This should be non-partisan. If it is wrong, it is wrong. All structures that are found in waterways should be demolished so that we can get an easy passage of.
In business, Finance Minister Dr. Atufo attributes city's record appreciation over the past months to effective collaboration between the Bank of Ghana and the ministry.
And in sports, Legon Cities FC officially relegated from the Ghana Premier League following a 4-1 defeat at home to Nations FC.
And we tell you why customers of defunct Menzgold are tonight celebrating a small victory. Details after this. So live here on SSNIT, it's on Joy 99.7 FM, and since the rains, many homes still remain without power. And we're getting clarity now from the ECG pretty shortly when you can expect that your powers will be back up and running. We'll get that for you pretty shortly. But still, talking about the power situation tonight, we're hearing from the minority who have rejected explanations why the power went out following the heavy downpour yesterday. They're putting pressure on the Energy Minister, John Junapor, to provide immediate solution. They criticize his recent announcement about having less than 3 days of liquid fuel for thermal plants, saying it sent alarming signals to the business community. Well, some majority MPs are also calling for urgent action to end the recent power outages, which they say is affecting their constituencies. They are demanding urgent action from the ministry and the ECG to improve the situation.
Power outages, everybody is worried that the power outages are becoming more severe. And if you remember, I made a contribution on what is happening, especially in the Krobo area, where the power goes off sometimes for 2 days, for 3 days. And from the interaction we had, it seems that the problem is not coming from VRA, but it's coming from ECG. So I'll do a follow-up with the Director of Operations of ECG to make sure that we can improve power supply to the people of the Krobo area, and Yilo Krobo especially.
For how long have they been experiencing this?
For about a month. And I've had a lot of meetings with ECG. And the impression I got was that the problem was coming from the VRA substation at Bon, but it is clear that it's coming from the ECG substation.
The light will trip, then comes back, let's say after 2 minutes. Then another 3 hours, the lines will trip. Sometimes what happens is that you may have the 3-phase, some are hooked onto, let's say, phase 1, another on phase 2, phase 3, before the neutral. So what happens is that finally, your house may be enjoying electricity, but the house adjoining, which may be on the second line, might not be enjoying. That has been the situation. And that is why they say that because the lines are not having that capacity, then the trips will happen. Because
I was in a constituency a few weeks ago. What happened is that, like what the voter, my colleague was saying, similar thing, but even theirs is better. You may have power for about an hour, then suddenly, intermittently, the power is to be cutting off, on, off, for several times, especially in the evenings or in the night. And that causes a whole lot of inconvenience to people. Businesses must run. I even feel for those who are running cold stores, their products or storage might be getting spoiled. And
a few NDC MPs there. We've been hearing from the minority side, the MPP side of Parliament also. Minority Chief Whip Frank Anodompre is demanding immediate measures to end the erratic power supply.
it looks like our colleague,
the Minister of Energy seems more interested in making headlines than keeping the lights on. The minister's recent claim that Ghana has only 2.6 days of fuel left was not just baseless, but economically damaging. Such remarks create an atmosphere of uncertainty and instability, which is detrimental to investor confidence. Power is the lifeblood of industry, and such statements send panic through businesses still recovering from the aftershocks of COVID-19 and global economic turbulence. This is not the first time the minister has made statements that paint a bleak picture of our energy situation. During the swearing-in ceremony of the president, he alarmingly stated that Ghana was left with only 5 hours of fuel, a comment he later retracted after clarifying that it pertained to heavy fuel oil, that is HFO, after causing needless anxiety while neglecting to mention that other power plants were operational with available fuel. His subsequent assurances following the 2.6 days of fuel comment do little to alleviate our concern. This pattern of panic, then retreat communication is unacceptable. The minister must stop frightening Ghanaians and start fixing the problems. The patience of the Ghanaian people is wearing time. 2, we demand action and result from the Minister of Energy and the government. 3, it is time to stop the talking and put the lights on, because Nanado did same. 4, businesses are collapsing. 5, the minority MPs, especially those on the Energy Committee, we are complaining to the minister to take action now. The honeymoon is over, Mr. Minister. Enough is enough.
That there, rather, is the ranking member on the Energy Committee, George Kwame Abuaje, speaking about what they want to see done in the energy sector. Now, he's also demanding government renegotiate deals in the energy sector and ensure a stable supply of fuel to power the thermal plants.
Leadership is about solutions, not excuses. The minister must, 1, stop the fear-mongering and focus on fixing fuel supply issues for IPP. 2, engage stakeholders to renegotiate burdensome take-or-pay contracts. 3, strategically set KPIs for ECG and NETCO to reduce operational and distribution losses and improve revenue collection. 4, address challenges of the cash waterfall mechanism and enforce it. 5, diversify energy mix with renewables and gas optimization, that is maximize Jubilee and 10 fuels to reduce reliance on. 6, encourage off-peak consumption by industries to frighten demand cap. 7, accelerate the rollout of smart metering to curb theft and increase revenue mobilization. We also understand and know some of the challenges are forex related and believe the current appreciation of the Ghana cedi is an opportunity to recover some losses in the sector.
Well, the minority in Parliament, they're now vowing to oppose any attempt also to increase electricity tariff in the next window if the ECG does not improve its performance. MP for Mensha South, Nana J. Bafoiwa, has petitioned the PULC to immediately suspend the recent increase in electricity tariffs. We'll hear from them pretty shortly. James Abaji is with me in the studio with a bit more on this petition. James.
Yes, Evan, so the minority, the MP, is saying that the increase of electricity tariff by some over 14% is in bad faith, especially considering the fact that consumers are not supplied consistent electricity in the face of the current ongoing power outages. They are demanding 4 key things. 1, that they suspend the implementation of the tariff adjustment scheduled for May 3, which actually took effect over 2 weeks ago, 2025, until a stable and predictable electricity supply is restored. 2, issues of public statement addressing the current power outages, including their causes, expected duration and steps being taken to remedy the situation must be announced immediately. They want the Electricity Company of Ghana to be compelled to publish a timetable for the outages to guide consumers, and finally that future tariff adjustments be conditioned on verifiable service delivery improvement, with a requirement for utility providers to meet specific performance benchmark as a prerequisite for approval of such tariff in the future. Evans.
James, thank you very much. Thankfully, we can speak to the J. Bafo, MP for Manchester South, joins us on the line. I'll get you some clarity if you are currently in darkness still. Despite the fact that the rains have long receded, the floodwaters have, and you're still out of power. We're going to get some clarity from the ECG when you can expect your power to be back on. Many of you went off for long hours in the wake of the floods yesterday. We'll get clarity for you pretty shortly. Dr. Charles Ani Ayuku is the General Manager of External Communications at the ECG. Will join us with some clarity whether they've managed to restore power to all the areas affected on the back of yesterday's floods. We understand that NADMO had requested that the ECG put out power to the affected areas so they can manage the situation there. Stay with me for that. But let me bring in Nana AJ Bafo, who has sent a petition to the PULC now. Nana, thanks for your time here on Newsnight.
Thanks for having me, my brother.
Your word, though, as you're asking the PULC to suspend the tariff adjustment, that the quarterly tariff adjustment is part of the IMF program that your government at the time signed us onto.
My brother, there's a customer client, there's a service relationship between the consumer and the ECG, which is regulated by the PULC. The ECG needs tariffs to run the services. We also need a service after we have paid the tariffs. I'm only inviting the PULC as the regulator to, in this instance, protect the consumer so that they pay what they are paying for, they get the service they are paying for. In the absence of that, the consumer is being shortchanged. Let me use Joy FM as a clear example of business that use electricity and the consequence of the absence of electricity, right, in this case. Joy relies on the electricity to do business. Now, they are now paying more than they used to by reason of the tariff adjustment. With the power supply being erratic, Joy, after paying more for electricity, would now have to, find an alternative power source simply because the power they have paid for at a more at a higher price is not available. And so Joy is now having to spend more for power because the power is not available. Is it fair on Joy as a consumer? It is clearly not fair, right? If you take the business consumer, if you take the domestic consumer, then you are also looking at a situation where you are paying for power which is unable for them to use, as far as their day-to-day lives are concerned, right? They are also unable to also plan their domestic activities. That is equally also not fair on them.
But the PULC has internal mechanisms for dealing with that. Last year, for example, in the first quarter, when we had a short period, I think 3 months of doomsday, what they did was to impose sanctions on the ECG for the erratic power supply. Then it doesn't necessarily mean that it will go to affect the tariff, because that has set factors guided by set principles in calculating and adjusting tariffs every quarter.
Okay, so the sanctions, who benefits from it? What kind of sanctions are they imposing, and who benefits from the sanctions? Even in football, when a sanction is imposed, it inures to the opponent, right? This is consumption, where there is a contractual relationship between the consumer and the service provider, right? If you are paying for a service which is unavailable, which is demonstrably, unreliable, which has declined, okay, if you have an option, you would move away from that service provider. But in this case, we don't have an option. What I am saying is that in this instance, the regulator should look the way of the consumer. It looks as if the regulator is always looking after the interest of the service provider. But in this instance, the consumer should be taken care of. When I say very respectfully that the tariff should be suspended, it is not to say to reverse it. Yes, it's been imposed, but pending restoration of full service, hold on with the tariff adjustment so that the consumer will not suffer unduly by having to pay for higher tariffs whilst also looking for alternative power supply, which also comes at a cost to the consumer. I think it is only fair, and that is not sanctioned, right? It is only fair contractually that when the consumer is not in a position to negotiate something which is fair, that protects the consumer, the regulator will step in and do the needful.
Your petition, has it been received by the PLC?
Yes, very respectfully. If you look at what has been...
Yeah, and what did they give you in a response?
It was sent just today. I am expecting a response.
You're expecting a response that says that they will suspend the tariff? That's
right. My brother, I'm not only asking for the suspension of the tariff that have been adjusted. I'm also asking that there should be published timetable, so that Joy FM will know when to buy fuel, right, and when to rely on ECG, that is power from the national grid. That is all I'm asking for, right, so that we can plan our daily life. At least this erratic power supply has gone on beyond a month. And so it is what it is. There is a real problem. Okay.
If you don't get the PLC to comply with your demands, what happens?
I will explore various options available to me under the law.
Options such as?
I will explore very respectfully. PLC is a regulator. It's subject to our courts in the exercise of its powers, right? As a member of Parliament, I can raise questions on the floor of Parliament. I can, file statements on the floor of Parliament. There are various options that are also available to me.
Okay. Thank you very much, Nia J. Bafo, the MP for Mensha South, on the subject of the erratic power supply and the petition he's filed now with the PLC. I want to bring in Dr. Charles Nia Ikuna, who's a General Manager, External Communications at the ECG. Doc, thanks for your time here on Newsnight. Earlier in the day, we got a notice from you alerting us all that indeed the NADMO had requested that you put out the power in some areas affected by the floods yesterday, but some areas were not back on as of this morning. Can you update us on whether or not you've managed to restore power to all the areas affected?
Yeah, thank you very much, and good evening to you and your listeners and those who are watching you live online. Yes, so we just concluded a meeting with the NADMO team about 30 or so minutes ago, and we've agreed that areas such as Botiman Stadium, affordable housing, the main Botiman Township, Lakeside, School Junction, Melcombe, Major, Zoom Lion, University Farms, Krasako Third Gate, Legon Hills, Santoy, Blue Kiosk, Medina Islam University are safe to be back online. Yes.
They are safe to be back online. Does it mean that they are back online now?
That should be they should be back online, because we concluded our meeting about 30 minutes ago and we agreed that they should be back online.
Okay,
yes.
so you expect
there was a challenge at the Little Roses area. there's a broken pole or a falling pole on the Nana Krum bridge. Yes. So because of that, we've been advised to do an isolation. That is to disconnect power from some parts so that we can restore for some other areas within the little environment. So yes, that's the current situation. So we are still working with NADMO for final clearance where I can put everybody back.
So the areas around Boteman and others, Boteman Stadium
yes,
and others you mentioned, they should be on tonight.
They should be on.
Okay, but you cannot confirm us at this moment, since the last meeting 30 minutes ago, whether indeed they've been switched back on.
Yeah, I can confirm and then call you back in some few minutes.
And you told us that NADMO had asked that you put the power off. Did they indicate exactly why?
Yes, because of the affected areas. You know, some areas were very much affected with the floods. Yes, and some poles, some boards. I mean, a whole lot of disaster situation. Yes, if I should put it that way, which caused very unsafe situation for our customers and people living in the area. So they advised that we don't put the lights on at that moment, but we should exercise some restraint and make sure that they've cleared the areas and consulted with the other team members before we are able to put them back up.
And very quickly, I'm just getting messages from listeners that parts of North Legon, Agbogba, Abloje are without power since 5 p.m. yesterday, though the area didn't experience flooding. What do you say to that?
Okay. Well, I have to check from the regional office or the district office to be sure why they are still experiencing an outage or experiencing outages at this moment. But I've not received any reports. I'm checking from our system reliability platform, and there are no reports that they should have any or experience any outage. But after speaking to you, I would make sure that I check from district offices and then get back to you.
Okay, but the residents who live there, one of them, my colleague, say they still are without power. And they've been without power since 5 p.m. yesterday.
Is it the entire community?
So the
area
areas
or
like
just
North
a
Legon, Abloje, those areas there, they have...
come again, please.
The North Legon area, the Abloje area, I believe we may have lost him there on the line. We'll try and reconnect it to get clarity for you. But he says, most importantly, that if you are in the Boteman and its enclave there and surrounding communities, you should have electricity tonight. You've been off for a while. He says NADMO asked them to switch you off so that they can manage the flooding situation that we saw in these parts, and that the expectation after a meeting 30 minutes ago, the ECG has given the all clear. The engineers have given the all clear that they can put you back on. I want to hear from you if you live in the affected areas. If you live in any of those affected areas, please let me hear from you. 055-11-11997 is the WhatsApp line you can reach us on, just to get clarity on whether or not indeed your lights are on, because the ECG now has the all clear to switch you back on. I was on the line with Dr. Nyeyiku when he dropped. He was answering a question that we got about the areas in North Legon that are still off. You were explaining earlier that you were going to check what's happening with the North Legon areas. Hello, Dr. Nyeyiku. Okay, we may have lost him again. But I want to bring in Richmond Roxing. He's a spokesperson to the Energy Minister. He joins us on the line right now. Richmond, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Jonathan. Good evening to your listeners.
You must have heard the minority side. They filed a petition now. They're asking for the PLC to suspend the tariffs that were adjusted recently because of the inefficiency in the system and erratic nature of power that we currently have. First of all, when are we going to see a firm end to the erratic nature of the power that we've seen over the last few weeks?
Yeah, Evans, the first point that I want to make from the minorities press conference is that they accuse the minister of engaging in scaremongering. It's rather unfortunate that they will say that, because on Thursday, the Parliamentary Select Committee for Energy invited the Minister for Energy and Green Transition, together with the agencies under his ministry. At that meeting, the committee members asked the Minister the state of the energy sector in Ghana today. What the Minister did was to give an update on the petroleum sector as well as the power sector. In the petroleum sector, the Minister disclosed that ExxonMobil had committed to coming back to Ghana. He also disclosed that ENI wanted to invest some $2 billion, as well as Cosmos Energy. In the power sector, what he did was he gave an overview of where we were as a country, the generation capacity, the challenges with the lines, the challenges with ECG, the debt level, and then what the government was doing to maintain stable power supply to the people of Ghana. So it's interesting that the minority is accusing the minister of scaremongering, but they are only focusing on an aspect of the updates that the minister gave to the Parliamentary Select Committee. And when they say scaremongering, I don't know whether they were expecting the minister to be economical with the truth, or they wanted the minister to be inaccurate with the facts. What the minister did was to put out the truth at the time he was holding the press conference.
In the interest of time, I know you've addressed the minority concern, but for millions of people, the only thing they really want clarity about is when they can sleep easy, that the lights won't go off. Do you have any clarity on when, regardless of what is happening in the system right now, when you are setting that the challenges will be dealt with?
The reality is that as of now, we are not shedding load. Our generation capacity is enough to meet the demand, even at peak time. So if you're experiencing erratic power supply, definitely it will be faults that have to do with the lines or some transformer, or localized fault, depending on whatever the reason will be. And that is why we have said that if you experience any challenge, just call the call center or get your nearest ECG office, and that the problem will be resolved. But we are not shedding load at the country at this point in time. Yes, we recognize that we inherited a very challenged distribution system, but the government and the energy sector players are working on that to ensure that consistently Ghanaians will enjoy stable power supply. And that has been the objective of the government of Ghana.
Thank you very much. Richmond Roxing there speaks for the Energy Ministry. And we have a fresh report that also puts this in perspective. I'm talking about a report that the Energy Commission has put out. Hydro share of the national electricity generation has stagnated while thermal power continues to dominate the energy mix. JoyNews' lead data and research analyst Kofi Ejaya has been studying this report and joins me in the studio. So give us a sense of what this says and implications for us.
We've been plotting the numbers and we're trying to do what we call the gap analysis. And what we can see is the widening gap between our dependable capacity and then also installed capacity in terms of hydro and thermal. So what is happening is that we are having a huge gap between thermal generation and then also hydro, where about 70% of the country's current installed capacity comes from thermal energy, and then just about 28% from hydro. What happens is that in that 70% thermal, you have a number of flooded with independent power producers, and according to the president, this is the space that is generating more debt, about $2.5 billion as of now. And if you look at the Energy Commission's report, we need over $1 billion this year to buy fuel in order to power the power plant, providing this hydro energy. Now, the big question is this a national security threat? Because we know that before 2015, we were getting more energy from hydro. Now it has changed, it's more thermal, and that means more money to buy fuel. That is the current, picture being painted by the Energy Commission, Evans.
Okay, thank you very much, Kofi. More on the research page on myjoyonline.com. Still listening to News Standards on Joy 99.7 FM. And George Affe will join me pretty shortly with business. And I will be all sharing your thoughts with the rest of the world. Now, a few of you living in the affected areas have joined me with your messages already. This one says, Lakeside, it says, Evans Lakeside Estates, Japan Motors is still in darkness. And so that is a quick feedback to the ECG general manager, external communications, who just gave us indication that 30 minutes ago they met and they've decided to switch the power back on. So these MPP guys are really funny and annoying. We are tired of this cacophony of comic attitude. Is he demanding for ECG timetable? He should ask NAPO, he says. And Nana Ekwama Boateng says this Dumso issue is getting out of hand, coupled with a 14.75% tariff increases when there is no evidence of improved service delivery. One thing that is common about this government is a lamentation of problems by the ministers. And Samin Kumasi says history of devastating flooding occurred in Accra between 1930 and 1955, yet nothing concrete has been designed to find a lasting solution to this annual ritual. I want to hear from you too if you are in any of the affected areas as far as the power situation is concerned. Share your thoughts with me. You've had the ECG update. You should have power by now. If you don't have it, send me a WhatsApp 055-11-11997. George Affe is here with business.
Hi, Evans. And coming up in business, the Finance Minister, Dr. Tuforson, attribute the city's record appreciation for over the past 1 month to effective collaboration between the ministry and the Bank of Ghana. And the central bank expects inflation for this year to perform better than the revised 12%, whilst projecting that the country will reach the much talked about single digit by the first quarter of next year. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, the Finance Minister, Dr. Tuforson, has attributed the impressive run of the Ghana city over the past months to effective collaboration between the Bank of Ghana and the ministry. The Minister of Finance said this when he inaugurated a 9-member board, or the Gold Board, in Accra today, chaired by one Mr. Kojofin. There's more in this report.
Speaking at the program, the Finance Minister, Dr. Tuforson, noted that the city's performance has also been influenced by what he describes as robust economic policies by this administration, together with favorable global conditions. The minister explained that the Bank of Ghana had also adopted a stringent monetary policy in collaboration with the Ministry of Finance. This includes focusing on aggressive liquidity sterilization, while the ministry had also pursued a disciplined fiscal path centered on prudent public finance management. Dr. Tuforson also highlighted that this coordination has also helped in restoring investor confidence, which has gone a long way to help in the city's recent good run.
And that is the Business Desk report. Meanwhile, economist Professor Patrick Isumin has been rejecting arguments put forward by the Finance Minister, especially when it comes to the collaboration between the ministry and the Bank of Ghana argument.
You have to ask for how long has the monetary and fiscal had the opportunity to coordinate as it is. I think along the line, the Finance Minister clearly identifies for me the most important things, which is that the appreciation has something to do with our accumulation of gold reserves, as well as the fact that the dollar has also weakened. And we can't discount that the fiscal policy announcement, in particular the budget, might have played a role. It's true that the coordination helps, but we have to be careful. I think some of the things that has been done, the gold purchase as well as gold border has been set up. You see that it has the potential to strengthen the city going forward. But at this moment, the city's strength is largely still determined by external factors, which we don't have quite control over yet. So I think I would be too cautious to attribute much of it. I'm not saying we should completely discount the coordination, but I think we can't give too much of the credit to that. I think.
Economist Professor Patrick Esumi. Now, the Bank of Ghana has indicated that it expects inflation for this year to perform better than the revised end-of-year target of 12%. Now, this is based on fresh monetary measures that the Bank of Ghana will be implementing along with other regulations. Dr. Zachary Mumuni is the first Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana.
See it exactly as being too ambitious. It is something that is within reach, perhaps even better. If you look at, again, what is happening, currently on our markets, that just, gives, you would have also seen our policy stance again. I keep mentioning this, and it's all linked. Now, aside that, you will also see that there are also some steps that are being taken to deal with the food side of it. Should these, activities that are being taken to address the food price situation yield some fruits, that should even be moving us far faster than we would have anticipated in the disinflation process. Yes.
You see, there are some who are even projecting that we could, on the other side, hit our single-digit target this year.
That is not out of the equation. If the food side were to adjust as expected and then complement what is currently happening on the other side, that should really be getting us very fast towards where we want to be, our medium-term target of 8 ± 2.
Dr. Zachary Mumuni is the first Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana. Now, the Social Security and National Insurance Trust has called for broader consultation with proposals to review the country's retirement age. Commenting on calls for an upward review of the retirement age, Director General Kwesi Afrebani explained that solving the unemployment challenge will be critical in expanding the pension contribution pool. He spoke to Joy Business at the opening of a new branch for SSNIT located on the Spintex Road.
I think that the conversations around retirement age should be much broader, and we should engage much broader before we get into the spaces of is it 60, is it 61, is it 62, or is it even 65? Yes, there are some countries that do 62. There are countries that will do 65. But Ghana, as it is today, is 60 years. And what it is that we need to do is to situate these conversations as well in the broader conversation of employment. When you have high unemployment as well, you may need to review some of these decisions, ensuring that whilst you bring in fresh people to join the employment group, you also make sure that as we are beginning to live much longer than we used to live as a people, life expectancy has gone up.
Kwesi Afrebani is the Director General of the Social Security and National Insurance Trust. Former Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Dr. Duana Ninchi, is now the new board chair of the institution. This was after Finance Minister Dr. Tuforson inaugurated the reconstituted board of the institution. Now, other members of the board include Dr. James Klucha-Veji. He is the current Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission. Also, Mensa Thompson Emmanuel, who is the current Deputy Director of the institution, and also the other one being Deborah Mausi Ajemfra as the Deputy Director General of the institution. Also, other notable persons on the institution include a rep from the Bank of Ghana as well as the General Legal Counsel. Let's do other stories. And Letulang, Ghana has announced a massive reduction in prices of its goods in response to the recent appreciation of the Ghana cedi to the dollar. Dubbed Cedi Apeke Promo, it's an initiative that has seen the company reduce its prices at all its shops nationwide. Speaking to journalists, the head of marketing and media relations at Letuland, Ghana, that is Adiza Ibrahim, said the economic fortunes being witnessed must impact on the lives of Ghanaians.
Luckily for us, the government is working on the dollar, and so cedis is doing really well. And so it is in line that as the biggest consumer electronics company in Ghana, we also follow suit. And so therefore, we decided that the prices we have on all the consumer electronics and any other electronics we sell and all the brands we represent, we also look at reducing the prices. So today, being Monday on the 19th May 2025, in line with government directive and in line with government effort in making sure cedis appreciate against the dollars, Electroland Ghana Limited has reduced prices. It's a gargantuan price reduction. This is not even a marketing gimmicks. This is like the genuine thing.
So that's Adiza Ibrahim there. And whilst Guta and Association of Ghana Industries are asking for more time, it looks like some companies have taken the lead to actually reduce their prices in response to the current performance of the Ghana city. And that is Electroland Ghana there. And that's all for business on the Newsnight.
George, thank you very much. And let's do sports now. Cranton is here with the details.
And Legon Cities have officially been relegated from the Ghana Premier League following a 4-1 defeat at home against Nations FC. Kelvin Ampofu scored twice for the visitors, with Emmanuel Ano and Sadiq Al Hassan adding the other 2 goals for Nations FC, who move to the summit of the league. With just 3 games to go, Legon Cities find themselves 10 points from safety, sealing their fate and bringing an end to their 17-year stay in the league. Nations FC, on the other hand, have now established a 1-point lead over BBNA Gold Stars at the top of the league, with just 3 points separating the top 4. Now, the president of Ghana Athletics, Bawa Hussaini, has confirmed that plans are in place to organize a national championships ahead of the World Championships later this year. Ghanaian athletes have enjoyed a positive start to the outdoor season, and Bawa Hussaini is optimistic about having multiple athletes qualifying for the sprint events.
We'll do our national championship in August, where we have final selection for World Championship in Japan. We are praying and hoping that we will get more athletes qualifying for the 100 meters than 3. If it's more than 3, then we have to bring all our foreign-based athletes to come to Ghana and do national trials, just like how Nigeria does it. America, US, Australia, and South Africa, they always bring their topmost athletes to come down to their country to compete. That is why we also want to do it in Ghana here.
Bawa Hussaini is the president of Ghana Athletics. Before we go, Brazilian forward Mateus Cunha is set to join Manchester United at the end of the season. United are expected to trigger the £62.5 million release clause in his contract. The forward signed from Atletico Madrid in 2022 for a fee of around £34 million and has registered 27 goals and 13 assists in 63 Premier League games.
In 63. I mean, they keep making the same mistakes over and over again. Cunha?
He's better than what you have.
But that's the point, right? In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. We want to go to the next step and challenge from the Premier League, not Cunha.
27 goals in 63 games for Wolves. Imagine what he could do with Man United.
Oh, okay. Obviously, you're not a Manchester United supporter. Still live, your Newsnight is on Joy 99.7 FM. Well, the troubled CEO of defunct Menzgold, Nana Appiah Mensah, today suffered a significant legal setback when the Court of Appeal dismissed his application for stay of proceedings in the ongoing criminal trial in which he accused persons, himself and his 2 companies, Brew Marketing Consult and Menzgold, have been charged with 39 counts of various offences, including selling gold without license, operating a deposit-taking business, inducement to invest, defrauding by false pretenses, and fraudulent breach of trust and money laundering, involving the sum of 340 million cedis. My colleague Latif Idris was in court for us and joins us on the line right now. You were in court. What happened?
Yeah, so I think when the Fascia case was established against NAM1 in July last year, he did 3 things. First, he filed an application of stay of proceedings in the court of the High Court. He did the same application in the Court of Appeal. But in the Court of Appeal, he did additional thing. That is to file an application against the prima facie case established against him at the High Court. So today, the Court of Appeal sat and made a decision on the stay on proceedings that he had filed at the court. That was the ruling that was given today. So dismissing that particular application. But still at the Court of Appeal, the application for against the prima facie established against him is still pending, and the Court of Appeal is yet to sit on that particular application filed by NAM1.
He's been talking, from what I understand, about the possibility of challenging this even further, going to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, he's giving the hint that this is not over. Those were his words when he was asked about the outcome of the ruling of the Court of Appeal. He said this is not over. There is a Supreme Court signaling that just maybe he might head to the Supreme Court for another appeal. But we engage the victims of this whole quote-unquote Ponzi scheme, and they've been sharing their excitement with the Court of Appeal decision, but they have some further demands. They want the president to come in for them with a bailout, if you like.
The High Court made a determination of prima facie case against NAM1 somewhere last year, July. And after that, NAM1 appealed against it. That he think that something didn't go well. So he appealed against it and he asked the court, the High Court here, to stay proceedings.
As an association, tell us about what do you make of this initial victory, if you like.
I think it's a sign of relief for us because we had earlier on called for a speedy trial, and so the Court of Appeal has removed all the bottlenecks with what is happening at the lower court here. And I think it's also more or less, first of all, the accused persons have been given their rights have not been trampled upon. And I think that is good for our criminal justice system. All that we are praying is that on the 28th of May, we shall come back to the High Court, and we believe that the court will proceed.
Fred Forsing speaks for the Menzgold customers. He himself was in court today, joins us on the line right now. And Fred, from what I understand, you want the president to intervene with the bailout?
Yes.
Have you formally petitioned the Jubilee House?
Yes, we have formally petitioned the Jubilee House before the reading of the first budget. And our information is that Jubilee House has taken a very positive step in respect of that request that we made. And so we have been following up on that one. We are only praying that where it is now, some concrete action will be taken in respect of that request that we made. Then we are good to go.
So you haven't heard directly from Jubilee House since you filed your petition?
Come again?
You've not heard directly from Jubilee House since you filed your petition?
We've not heard directly from them, but where the action was taken, we've been following up on that one. And we believe that if things proceed as they are, it's going to be in the interest of all the customers.
Thank you very much, Fred Forsing. I speak for the Menzgold customers. Well, tonight, pavement traders are calling the bluff of the Chief Executive Officer of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, Maxwell Alote, who has vowed to start an aggressive eviction exercise tomorrow morning. Just 5 days ago, he issued an ultimatum for them to leave the walkways or be forcibly removed, citing how the activities have clogged the central business district. But with less than 12 hours to the deadline, many traders say they have no intention of leaving the pavements.
Okay, so in less than 24 hours before AMA's decongestion exercise, traders seem not to be ready to move from the pavement. Just last week, the Accra Mayor warned traders to leave the pavement. In fact, he gave them up to Tuesday to vacate the pavement. Otherwise, they are going to remove all of them tomorrow. So we are currently here in Accra, the central business district, to speak to some of the market women or the traders. Hello, mommy. Good afternoon. Oh, what is saying? Enti echina osi wa mamu echina mu nyina mu free hanom.
Me mama die. Me ni ba bia akọ. Ahaya na nseme ma no kromo hwe ma. We ya na ye de hwe ye ma. Ye de bi ha adan, ye de bi tua wota benti ne ye to aba no. Se ya to aba no omba ye saa. Bokoba aba, bokoba akọ.
Baby amutine ase mo like enye because nipa ye ma wa hanom ka se nya kwantwem.
Madam, I have payment soon. Me ya Taliban who say, but Lolo Kwan and Namu for new winning on better 5. But see, I crane your moon everywhere. To be a better link a cracker. As a so much share, no more Yamaya, Naya Blepa, our cry. So that's the na ye necessary Jamana Beba, Crono Basabasa, into a ban on share.
Ain't China Oberban now.
Tell me why Namasha, Mayor no obey.
Okay, so my lady here seems not to be ready to move from here. because this is the only source of income she has. And she has a lot of responsibilities at home. So she's not ready to leave the pavement. So yeah, the decongestion exercise is starting tomorrow. The AMA is coming here too.
Oh, me shega. I was a member. Na maybe I should send you a corner. Minti na fie sa say me menti me ma meba. Ebi wo hanu aba space da ba bi aye wa omutimi chense mun komachi. Na mun hihye mu na mun nyina anya fefefe. Ekwan
but say baby am we ha nyina ye kwan mu he wo se nipa emfa ha.
Emfa ha. Ofa ha.
No, e wo se nipa emfa hanom.
We had a few of the traders at the Central Business District. They are not prepared to move tomorrow morning. The Chief Executive of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly has vowed that the exercise will commence. They will evict all the traders found trading on the streets. We'll be there to bring you live updates as far as that is concerned. Enjoy the rest of your evening.